What is my motivation to change my job? Trying to avoid pain or going towards something? People tend to devalue their past experience. Oh, it feels like I'm starting from zero. It feels that way, but you're not really starting from zero. You already have skills you can use and integrate in your next position or in your own business.
Just being in a room without saying anything, just by being aware of your energy and how you transfer it to others, you could change the energy of the whole room.
At the end, it's mirror neurons, right? We perceive other people through mirror neurons. Very subtle. Deep inside, we all know what we want.
If we already know what we want, then we can just listen to ourselves and meditate, and we don't need any therapist, psychologist, coaches, or anything, right?
To what extent the workplace is responsible for a person's mental health.
My purpose is to help professionals connect with themselves and with others. Therefore, by the end of this episode, I would love to know, do you feel more connected? Kate, welcome to the Core Impact Podcast. I'm excited to have you here and to what we are going to talk about in this podcast, in this episode. The first question I would like to ask you is, what excites you most about what you are doing lately with leaders and CEOs?
Well, thanks for having me, Omar. It's a pleasure to be here. What excites me the most? I would say it's the drive and how people push themselves out of the boundaries of the known. We're sort of often think successful people are the ones who never encounter any, they're just really good from birth. But it's seeing this constant evolvement, constant growth, constant pushing boundary time and time again. That's the real growth, right? It's not this stagnant area where everything is comfortable. I find that very inspiring, and a pleasure to work with such people.
Great, Kate. I'm curious to know from you about, especially that you lived in 5 different countries, how these experiences in different countries and the transitions that you had in your life shaped you and your personality.
Yeah, wow, that's I love the questions, Omar. It's directly deep into the point, right? How have they shaped me? Well, I would say I first went abroad when I was 15. I went to live in the US as an exchange student in US high school and family. And back then I already knew this is the experience that will make me more flexible and adaptable to new places, new environments. I was basically, even though I was in a family, I knew that I'm still here on my own, in the sense that I'm from where I'm from and I'm coming here and I'm different. So it's kind of, that book Culture Map about different cultures, and they have this really with Erin Meyer. Yeah. Oh, you have it there, the yellow one. Nice. It's like the fish that goes out of its normal water into new water. And then you realize, okay, that's how things were for me. That was my normal. This is a new normal for these people. And how do I fit in? And how do I still stay, in a way, authentic, or, well, it's a big word, right? But who I am, while still adaptive to the environment here. So it makes you, it made me really learn how to connect to people, I would say. Yeah.
Is there something unique you like to share about each of the countries you've been in?
Oh, unique, like in terms of culture?
Yes.
When you think about it, there's just in part it's difficult for me to say, because it's part of me now too. Even though I kind of saw myself outside of it, I still absorbed a lot of those elements. So, one funny example was when I came back from China. I lived there for 8.5 years. I came to Europe, and one of my first jobs back in Europe was working with a Dutch company. And the people culture was so different. I spent a long time in China learning that people are very non-direct in a lot of the feedback and a lot of things people say and try to communicate. And it took me a while to learn what do people actually mean behind being nice and giving you face, as they say in China, to coming to Netherlands where it's like very direct. If I think it's a bad idea, I'm going to say it's a bad idea. And I was like, what? So that was a funny example from me. Of course, then I understood that it's not rudeness necessarily, as a lot of people, it's just the way things are and how people tend to communicate. Yeah.
Kate, what do you think the 3 top things that people usually underestimate when they transition and move to a new country?
Top 3 things people underestimate. I would say one of the things is how much time it takes to adapt or to integrate, or whatever word we can use here, how much time it takes to settle. For me, I lived abroad for half of my life, and moving to Europe, to Germany, was actually much tougher than I thought. Before I was like, oh, whatever, I've been abroad, I've been in the UK, it's going to be fine. But it's a different life stage as well, and it's different. And it took me a lot longer than I expected. What do people underestimate? That is something that is the top one off the top of my head. I would say something that people might not know, although some do, is the power of the network. A lot of my friends in China connected me with friends here. Or somehow I got reconnected with people who left China and moved back to Europe, and I got to see them all over. They're all over, the place now. Some in France, some in, in Italy, and so on. So that's something very powerful, to tap into that, to remember those people.
Is there any story you'd like to share where a cultural misunderstanding, which led to maybe a conflict in the beginning, in the end taught you something that was profound for you?
Well, off the top of my head, that example with the Dutch environment and working with the Dutch people after China, that was a very good example, because I was still experiencing a bit of a culture shock just arriving. I was still in the transition period from China, and a bit of homesickness for that place, and still in that mode of operating, and hearing people giving very direct feedback made me feel like people don't care about the other person, feelings of the other person. I tend to not confront immediately, because also living abroad, I know that there might be something that I just don't see. It's often people automatically assume that if we don't understand someone, if something is foreign to us, it means it's dangerous or it's unknown. Should, attack or defend ourselves. It's kind of a natural thing. But I learned that actually, if we lean in a bit and try to listen and see what is actually behind, we might tap into some wisdom. So I just try to learn and see what's going on. But still, my natural response was to say, okay, they're bad. But after that, after realizing, after learning a bit, after talking to people who also not from that place necessarily, but lived there for a while, you start to see a new perspective. Oh, it's just that actually, if we look at it from this perspective, it's much easier. You don't have to second guess what the other person thinks. We can just directly get down to business and figure it out. Yeah. It's like the low context, high context cultures.
Could you please explain a bit? What does that mean?
Sure. So when there's a lot of context, for example, let's take Japan, where their way is very much known how to behave in a certain situation that is very hard to understand for people who come from outside. They've been closed for a while, they have their own way, and in a way, just somebody from that culture already knows what's the right thing to say, or the right way to approach it, or the right greeting to use, or the right thank you to use in that specific situation with that specific person. And for somebody who's outside, they have no idea. But let's take US, how they've grown. They've had people from all over the world come there, right? There's Italians, there's people from England, you know, all of these people. How do they make things happen? They have to be specific and direct. I want this thing. Give me this glass of water so that I can do my thing with this glass, so I can make tea. You know, we don't have time to like figure out what's the right way to politely ask for that cup of tea. So it's very much functional. That's why when we look at people who are, of course, I'm generalizing a little bit. It's always different with different people, but we look at very direct way to express certain things. Yeah, except for negative feedback, but that's another thing about Erin Meyer's book.
That was an example of?
Yeah, so high context is when there's a lot more subtle things to understand in the situation. Low context, if I'm correct, we don't need much context for this. We can just get down directly to what the job is.
If you are enjoying the Core Impact podcast and feel inspired, let's connect on LinkedIn. You can search for my name, Omar El Mamlouk, or click on the link in the description. I would love to hear your thoughts or collaborate on projects around mental health and well-being at workplace, inclusive leadership, inner leadership, and the future of work. Let's co-create impact together. I know also that you work with professionals when they are in the middle of a career shift, or if they want to have a career shift. And if anyone is listening now, how can they make sure that it's the right time for them to make a career shift?
Well, at the end, they're the ones who know already. And I would say if it's something that's been on their mind, is something they've been pushing back for a while, and all their friends are like, come on, you've been talking about this for so long, just go do it. You know, but again, this is advice, and it's easy to give advice when we're not in this situation. Very scary, can be very disorienting and confusing, and in a way our whole system is pulling us back to the way things to stay as they are, and then there's another push to something new, towards something else. And I mean the internal and external system. External system being perhaps the environment or the company we're in. So just being aware of that. Who is it that we're around? Do we want to perhaps look at that and analyze it? Do these people help me grow? But also internal, right? There's often resistance to change and all those things that come up. And there's like literally two forces. One says, no, that's scary. Our brain's like, don't worry about it. It's fine. We'll get by. We've been fine like this, right? But still, there's this other voice that pushes us forward. Like what else could it be? One thing might be good to think about is, what is my motivation to change my job, to change my career? Is it trying to avoid pain or going towards something? And those are very things, right? Sometimes we just don't know we might like our job, we just don't know how to set the relationship well with our management or colleagues, right? But if this is the case now, chances are it can still be like that in the future. It's still like, it doesn't mean we shouldn't change the job. It's good to have an example, I would say, specifically to see it very well. But yeah, or is it more like, I want to change my job because I love cooking pastries or baking pastries, and that's a pull towards something. And there's a lot more motion, a lot more excitement. Our brain understands why I want to go that way. And the more we do something, the better we learn to use little success as fuel to go forward, the easier it is for us to keep going, right? Like that's kind of how brain works. So when there's motivation to go that way, and when we're able to reap the benefits of little steps forward, that's when it's much more successful, much more fun to go that way.
You reminded me of someone said, it was a psychologist, also listened to a podcast of her, and she said, if you always, in this example, if you always are running from something and you are always wants to change because of pain, because you want to avoid something, and then this is the only motivation for you, there is a high chance that you will go to another place where you will have also pain, same pain or different kind of pain, but it will not really change. But when you have something to look forward to, because something is pulling you, you're closer to your true self, probably, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, oh, when I have a different job, when I career I like, when I have a new partner, a different partner, or when I have a partner, then things will be fine. When I earn this much money, it's always like that, right? And at the end, it's always here.
What are also your top advice for someone? Okay, they know that they need to make this career shift. How can they make it more smoothly? Because it could be scary, it could be difficult, especially in the beginning. Do you have like something you say, if you do this consistently, it will make it easier, more smooth?
Hmm. Yeah, there are a few things. One, in terms of consistency, is to start already. If it's a project, if you have a full-time job and you want to start a podcast, right? You can already start, right? You don't have to wait until you change your job. It's definitely, and then you have a sort of MVP of your product and you try to see, do I actually like this? Do I enjoy it? Or was I just inspired by somebody I like on social
MVP
media?
stands for?
Minimal viable product. So like in business, like, let's test this. Is this really a running business for me? Is this something I actually like? Um, or do I just want to keep it as a hobby and this is fine for me? That's something to start already. And even like when I moved to self-employment, because I was working in L&D, learning and development, and doing trainings in companies, doing leadership trainings, communication. And I still wanted to do coaching and work with people one-on-one. So I already started training. I started getting the experience as I was working, not necessarily getting paid or having a proper company, but just to get the hang of it, right? Mm. Then that also sets you up, and even we're speaking purely business terms. Hey, I already have my case. This is something to present, right? What I notice, people tend to devalue their past experience. We can actually use that, right? It's like if somebody is very much changing from one industry to the other one, it's like, oh, it feels like I'm starting from zero. It feels that way, but you're not really starting from zero. You already have skills you can use and integrate in your next position or in your own business. Whether it's communication, whether it's knowing a particular industry, whether it's a specific niche that we know. Yeah. Like, let's say coaching, right? Is so much, right? It's like, where do I even start? And if you have an experience, let's very simple example. If you have an experience in a specific industry, you could just directly work with people from that industry because you know their pain points. Yeah. Or you know, what is it like to be them?
Even if you're working in a totally different industry, as you said, communication skill is not an easy word to say. There's so much in it that you can use, and it's more important than maybe anything else that you can apply, let's say, from your mind, because communication is not only about how you speak or what you say, let's say what you say, but it's about how you communicate with people. And this is your mind with your heart, emotional intelligence. And that's a key factor, actually. This is by itself as an example. So if you know how to communicate with people in any industry and you have passion to go to another field, even if it looks far away, but I like how you reminded me how much we underestimate our past experiences, because just by this example, you could take so much with you. And there are so many other things depending on which situation you're in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Communication, dealing with people, negotiation, marketing, there's plenty. Life experience in general. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you just made me think of something interesting. I'm doing a training now with working with charisma for people. So, some people, they might mean really well. They may feel very friendly towards others. They want to connect, but somehow it doesn't work because when other people look at them, they actually perceive a mask of unfriendliness or discomfort. It's working with people's facial masks, we call them that, is basically emotions that haven't been fully processed, and they get stuck on our faces. And this is really insane. I'm just kind of getting into this topic. Well, I've been working with the body as well because I realized just cognitive mental coaching is very important, right? But there's also a very important body element, and it's all interconnected. And just seeing how somebody can really shine just after these sessions is just wonderful. And that's also communication. That's also charisma.
So in this case, if I understand correctly, just being in a room without saying anything, just by being aware of your energy and how you transfer it to others, you could stay 1 hour, for example, saying nothing, but just because you are there, you could change the energy of the whole room,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can be. Yeah, they did studies with monks, like Buddhist monks, that they have that power. Um, yeah, and this works on different levels. How it works is interesting. At the end, it's mirror neurons, right? We perceive reality, we perceive other people through mirror neurons. Very subtle. We're not aware of it at all, almost all the time. But we're just like, oh, how do I feel about this person and what they, and it's not just energetic, because this is like a whole different topic, right? Like energy and what does this really mean and how is, yeah, it's an interesting topic. But just even scientifically, it's mirror neuron. Yeah. It's always inside out. Yeah.
How do you differentiate now here between science and energy? Like in more details.
Oh, it's a tough question, right? Well, I'm curious to see the intersection of it, right? I like to look at things from different perspectives, for sure. And at the end, from what we know, science now is the most reliable, most precise tool humans have developed to understand truth, right? But there's also more things that it just can't explain yet. Although it's on the way and there's a lot of development in many different areas, which is very interesting. It's also vocabulary, it's like, what is it that I like to, do I want to say energies? Do I want to say things in a more spiritual context? Or do I want to be a bit more secular and just use that? And it depends on the person and works for them, what works for them.
It could mean in the end the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a lot of the religions, they have a lot more in common, right? It's just they're all based on the time and the era that particular teaching was taught in the place. And yeah. Anyway, that's a big topic as well. Yeah.
I'm curious also about career transition. If you have worked with someone while they're in this phase of transitioning their career, and you saw how much mindfulness played a role of being also, let's say, relaxed while doing this sometimes big shifts.
Yeah, definitely mindfulness. Well, it's a very interesting question. I think it's good to also start with what is mindfulness? What is meditation? I hear so many different things like, oh, I try to meditate for 10 minutes and I just can't do it. I'm not good at it. Like I've heard this so many times. And at the end, what is mindfulness? It's basically awareness in the present moment of what is arising. And it's very physical. I see it embodied as a common word for it. How does my body feel right now? What do I feel emotionally? What are the thoughts that come? I'm just aware of my present experience. And that is definitely a pathway to a lot of self-awareness, understanding, empathy, compassion as well, to understand what is it I'm feeling and why and how do I respond wisely. As they say, there is a between the stimulus and the response, there is a space, and that space is freedom. Am I this person? Oh, I'm changing my career. Oh, it's tough. Or I just sent my CV and nobody replied. Oh, I'm just gonna stop it. It doesn't work. Is that wise response? You just need to keep going and try to understand what went wrong, or how to improve my CV, for example, or how to find the right position. At the end of the day, it's this consistent action that changes our reality. Yeah. Then there's a trap a little bit like, oh, I think I'm being mindful. I am very self-aware because I've developed that identity from practices or whatever. I'm mindful, but am I actually mindful? I think for me, where I've come, and I've meditated for like many, many years. I started it like more than 10 years ago. I've been sometimes consistent, sometimes not consistent with practice, and I've now I enjoy breath work a lot now, and what I see, it's easy to fall into practice just for the sake of practice. I find that it's important to have practical, real world application, and that's why I really like your question. How can this actually help me in my life here?
And do you have a story here that you'd like to share? Like how mindfulness helped with the career transition?
Give me a second.
I like that you're taking your time, by the way.
Yeah, these are very big questions, right? Like the stories part.
By the way, I want you to take your time, and I like this. I'm just sharing something now in the middle. You're just applying what you were just talking about with Viktor Franklin, right? A man's search for meaning. He was talking about like not to respond directly. This is the first guest I've been doing. I think over 50 guests I had so far, and this is the first time you're really taking your time, and I feel that you really want to have a proper answer. That's why you're taking your time.
Sometimes it's good to pause, right? And the reason I'm also thinking a bit more is because when I moved to Europe after China, there was a lot going on in the world, right? And I've been meditating for a while, and I thought, okay, I actually want to take on a formal training. And I applied for this program, and it was a 2-year program in mindfulness, meditation, and teacher training. And so how did mindfulness play a role? Like, it was at the core of it because I was in the midst of that training the whole time. So it's almost like going back, you're asking, not that you're asking, but I'm hearing, how does the water feel now? And I'm the fish in that water, right? But I went off a bit on a tangent. It helped definitely to ground in the midst of a lot of chaos, a lot of thoughts, a lot of opinions of what I should do out there. It definitely helped me ground and connect to myself and find what is it that's the right path for me, because not everybody understood that I went into coaching. It almost like I even in the beginning, I remember, so there's another coach here. Everybody's a coach these days, and this kind of a bit cynical. When you're still not fully grounded in what is it that you're doing, it can be a bit disorienting where you're not fully sure, but of course it's a journey. So it definitely helped me get a bit more ground, feel the resonance. Does this resonate with me? Is this what I want to do? Or do I need to chase some old dream of successful success and be this person in this company, which is not a bad thing in itself. It's like, what's the right thing for me? It definitely helped me be more at peace with who I am and doing. And also supporting me throughout that challenge. Let's say I need to make certain steps in my certain actions, to apply for certain things, or to start to develop the practice, to build the business, to understand who my customers are. And these are all new things for me. I've never been self-employed before. And throughout that shift, that's something that always gave me the resource and groundedness.
Here there is one
And
thing.
sometimes even creative answers, because when something's brewing and you feel a bit stuck in yourself and you're like, oh, what should I do? How do I approach this piece of content that I'm creating? And when we're just sitting and it doesn't come, but when oftentimes people get a lot of new ideas during meditation as well.
Yes, having space, giving space to yourself, right? Because when you're always occupied, you are always doing something. It's not only like sometimes if you are working the whole time, and then when you're not working, you are on your phone using social media, and after social media, you're doing other things, etc., and you're not giving yourself space, then it's not a surprise that you don't know what you want, because you're always occupying yourself and your mind with so many things. But when you have the space during meditation, and this is something I experienced recently with so many new things that changed my life, it was during either meditation or journaling, etc. But I was doing actually nothing, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Are you feeling stuck at work, disconnected from yourself or your team? If you are searching for more meaning in what you do, I am offering a free 30-minute call to help you clarify your purpose, your values, your vision, and your mission. Connect with me on LinkedIn and let's take the first step together. Also, you reminded me of something, Kate, that there is this advice. First of all, I'm curious to see how do you see it. It says I'm translating also. It's actually from Arabic, but I find it applicable to any kind of transition. If you want to start your career, you want to have any big decision, especially with what you do, is to see three things. First one is your passion. Okay. So something you love to do. Your heart tells you, I like it. The second one is the need or the opportunity. You know, there is a need for this. You know, there is a gap. You know that you can help others while doing this. And the third one is your ability. So this is something that you can naturally do. Okay. So how do you think about these three, and how can you help others also make sure that they have these three when they start something new?
It's a nice one. It's like they say this is Ikigai, right? And in Japan, although I think from what I understand, the actual concept of Ikigai goes a bit deeper into their everyday life. It's not just about your purpose, earth, and whatever. But it's a good one. Yeah. What do I like to do? What I have passion for? What I'm good at? What the world needs, and what I can actually realistically give to people. I think these are, at the end, very nice questions for reflection. Yeah. There is something I want to share. I mean, this is a bit of a concept of how our brain works, but I can explain as simply as I can. So let's say there is a little girl, Mary, and Mary wanted to be a dancer as a kid. But her parents said, no, Mary, you're not going to be a dancer. You're going to be a accountant. Mary learns that what she wants is not what is safe or what she can do. Her body, her brain adjusts to become an accountant because of the situation we're in. Again, we're not blaming anybody here. This is just a case study, let's say. Over time, there are many situations. Like then Mary meets John, and she loves John, and she wants to be with John. But John likes to smoke and go to a lot of parties. So because she wants to be with John, she's gonna try to smoke. So she's even further from her dancing career, And then something else happens, and where I am, clients, is, let's say, very simplified, right? Mary wanted to be a dancer, but she's right here. Accountant, not happy, not knowing, confused. And there's a lot of confusion. And this is basically how our neurophysiology works. And basically, one quick way to address that is to start that mechanism again towards being a dancer. It's not that Mary now needs to become a professional dancer or depends on, of course, on what she wants to do, but become that dancer and become a superstar and do it professionally. But the mechanism toward that old dream starts again. So if somebody ever wanted to play piano or sing or anything, or do some kind of sport, do it now already, as badly as you can, as well as you can. If you're not going to be a Beethoven, no need to play piano kind of thing. It was just cultural. My grandmother was a piano teacher, and she was like, it's very much in the education. So, okay, if you're only going to be great, then it's worth doing it, that kind of thing. And it's more about the mechanism towards that, because then all the other things will adjust. Right? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because,
but of course, there are other ways to work with it. Like one of the ways I work with people is through neurodynamic recovery, which is activating certain points in a person's body. And this method works with finishing that impulse that was once stopped. Mary wants to be a dancer. That impulse to go is stopped. And because it's stopped, it's stuck in the body. And the body learns to say, okay, whatever I want, I shouldn't do. And so it's such an interesting, amazing time to live now with so many innovative new methods to work with these things. It's just beautiful to see what people can do. So this is a way to get back into, maybe Mary won't be a dancer again. Maybe she will do something else, but the mechanism towards, I want this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow my interest, I'm going to do what gives me joy, is started. It might be tough, but it's going to go there.
In the end, she might be somewhere else. She might not be a dancer, at least as the way how she thought she would like to be in the beginning, but she might take lots of dancing skills and use it somewhere else, right?
That can be, sure, if that's the side effect, that's amazing. At the core, it's what's gonna help her start that mechanism internally to go towards what she wants, even if it's not dancing anymore. And that way she's gonna have more clarity. Okay, I want this, because a lot of people, at the end, I believe, and I see this with a lot of my clients, deep inside, we all know what we want. But it's scary because of different reasons. And we're so used to shrink ourselves or put ourselves in a little box, and this is how I'm going to be, because this is what I was told. Don't go out, don't do this. Or, well, this is not about victimhood or anything like this. It's a choice at the end, and realizing, hey, it's a choice. I can get out of this box. I put myself in, and I can go and do that thing. And that's where that freedom is. But it's about really listening and also following in reality. That's how we build neural pathways. That's how we build our reality and change at the end.
If we already know what we want, then we can just listen to ourselves and meditate, and we don't need any therapist, psychologist, coaches, or anything, right?
Well, it depends on each person, right? Sometimes it takes a bit of work to dig out again, what is it that we want, right? To legalize it for ourselves with our internal family of, internal family systems is a method by Richard Schwartz. Like kind of, we have this inner critic, we have inner hero, we have a child. Yeah, it's like it's really cool actually. It's like it's like a whole internal system of different people, different voices, or different characters inside. The hero says, I'm going to win everything. I'm going to go I will do this. The critic says, oh, you suck, or they suck, or you can't do this. Critics are not bad. They're actually really useful as long as they're well behaved and not stop us, right? There's vulnerable parts of us. And so it's like a whole construct in our mind of how different parts interrelate with each other. So sometimes it's re-educating the critics of instead of criticizing me so much that I don't want to do anything anymore, actually helping me go where I want to go. So I think therapists, coaches, helping professionals are very, very well. Of course, you could say I'm biased because I work as a coach, but I actually got into this job because of working with a career coach initially. That's how I even found out that this exists, that I can do this, and that helped me a lot. It's essentially transferring the skill of self-regulation, of emotional intelligence, of well, it depends on the area and the niche. So I think it's definitely helpful. We can know what we want, but if we still act the same way, nothing's going to change. And a coach or person from a helping profession can definitely help people move forward. This is more a job of a coach. With therapy, it's a different story. Usually, it depends, of course, on the method, modality, and the specific person's situation, right? I like to say, like, somebody, if we have a continuum, as somebody is in 0 is like, I'm okay, you know, -1, I'm definitely not okay, right? I'm struggling very well. +1 is this, I am flourishing, I'm fulfilling my full potential, I'm living my life to do, yeah, this is great. So I see that therapy usually helps people go from -1 to 0, to go back to normal, right? To more stable place where they are functional, where they can feel more healthy and yeah, adaptive in life, and from coach working more towards +1, really tapping into that potential and our dreams.
While you are listening to the Core Impact podcast, please take a moment to pause and share with me. How do you feel? Are you enjoying the conversation, feeling inspired, or something else? I would love to know your feelings in the comments.
Kate, first of all, you reminded me of the Courage to Be Disliked, this book. It was this goes this same direction with this victimhood and inner critic, etc. And there's something else that it's my perception. It is scary how many people. Actually, my question was like thought provoking, but from my perception, it's scary how many people, in my opinion, need someone to just help them go out of, like, they are so much not -1, they are much more than -1. And in the outside, they are super successful. Everyone is jealous of how much everything they have. You talk about everything material, money, position, fame, and so on. When you sit with them, you feel that they are struggling and they don't want to even admit it. And they make fun of everyone who does a profession that help them. So they are, in a kind of in conflict with the people who can really help them. Of course, they can also work on their own, but that helps them a lot. And that's why I wanted to ask you this question also. So I
Okay.
actually believe that it is
Yeah, okay.
essential, as you say. Yeah.
You know what? I used to actually be very, this is really good for you, but that's a bit of the Cartman's triangle, right? Like, you're the hero helping somebody. Then you fall into, the triangle, victim and the hero and the tyrant. It's one of the tools. Honestly, now I'm very respectful of that. In a sense, okay, this is your choice. This is your responsibility. Person doesn't wants to stay where they are, and this is their conscious decision. That's their decision. It's not my job to re-educate you, because then I'm taking a role that's above a parental role. Say, oh, hey, you need to live like this, and that's not what we want. At the end, my job is to also, it's a company, guide the person together side by side. And if they're ready for it, then they're ready for it, and I'm here. So that's kind of how I see it.
You're reminding me also of something is not to push anything or anyone. Everyone in the end will know it when is the right time for them to seek help. And the other thing is, I used to think that the hero role is always good. I wasn't even aware of it, but after knowing about this triangle, I was like, whoa, because I've been there too.
Yeah. Yep. And then you fall into the other role, and it's like a whole thing. It's insane. At the end, it's what I can control, right? I can control my own choices and walk the talk. That's help myself. That's the most important thing, first of all. And then other people can follow. Yeah.
There is also something else I would like to know from you, also from your experience. What are the top 3 blind spots that most leaders have about mental health and well-being for their employees?
Blind spots. Well, I like your questions, Omar. It's very thought-provoking indeed, especially when you think about, oh, okay, what are the top 3 blind spot that leaders might help when it comes to employee mental health? Well, this is a huge topic, isn't it? Like mental health at work. And how do we approach it? Is it a company's responsibility? To what extent? At the end, one blind spot could be is that people don't see themselves as part of their system. If it's a leader managing a team, because we're in it and we don't always see things from ourselves, from our own inside out, right? That's why it's good to have an external perspective. We might not know that we're also creating this somehow, even subconsciously. There's this really great book, The Dance of We by Horowitz. They had this company that doing great things. They were doing psychological training. They were happy customers. They were doing great products. But their whole team was being burned out. They worked till 10 o'clock. It was just getting to a point of really unhealthy situation. But at the end, they were like, but how? Everybody's well-meaning and nobody's trying to do bad things. We're all good humans here. How can this be that it's so unhealthy? And it's a system point of view. And really looking at the system, how is it that the relationships are built? Who are the people who do a lot of talk, but not as much walk, right? How am I contributing to this? Even though I'm saying, oh, it's no worries, but what is it that I'm showing? If I'm at work, like this was in China, this is also different culture, right? And very different context. So we have to look at it from that context. But it's very common for people to work quite late. And when the boss is at work, in some companies, it's a thing. You stay until the boss goes home. You can't leave before. It wasn't always the case there, but in some companies, yeah. But still, most people are like, oh, they're still here. It's 8 p.m. I should probably also stay here. But this is also, anyway, this is a big topic, right? How do we make it sustainable? Is this sustainable? So that could be something that they don't see. This is also an interesting point. To what extent the workplace is responsible for a person's mental health. Right? At the end, we're all at work. We're autonomous adults who make our own decisions, who have the responsibility to say, this is my job, this is not my job, this is how we negotiated, this is what we're doing. Here's me providing some solutions for this problem. Sometimes people fall into a bit of a kid, right? I'm here and I do as I'm told, but I can speak up. Then again, there's a question of a system, is on a systematic level, because still system is much stronger. It has a stronger effect on a person than we might think. Does that answer your question, more or less? At least for the first part, the first top one.
Yeah. Oh, so I thought you meant 2 points, because the first one, as I understood, is the leaders themselves. They forget that they are part of the system. And the second one is the employees, that they forget they have responsibility, it's their life.
Yeah. Structuring is really helpful. I'm like going off tangents. I'm like this and this, and you're like, okay, this is the structuring. Yeah. It's also about the system point of view, right? Again, I see a lot of companies. I mean, we don't see this as much anymore because a lot more companies, given the economy, are starting to be a bit more aware of how they spend their budgets. Like even being an L&D department, is this really necessary to give people a subscription for a meditation app? It sounds like a good idea, right? And of course, technically, I should be for it, given I'm all for all these practices. However, if I give you an app and my system at work is so messy, it's so not structured. We spend hours in meetings without getting anywhere, and people come out stressed and confused about where we're going and what is the point of all this, and what is the direction, what is my job. Then what's the point of this app? Like I can buy it myself, right? So I think this is more the responsibility of the companies to have the processes that are aligned with where we're going. It's a challenge. It's a challenge, especially now. A lot of companies are going through transitions and changes, and economies changing. Like everything is changing, right? And it's like, okay, first I need to get my things in order, then we can do something. But at the end, things are always changing. It's like constant. How do we find decisions? How do we stay focused on the goal? How do we refocus? These are all very interesting questions, and I think working with teams is also beautiful to see all the different dynamics and how it comes about.
Kate, now you are reminding me also, it's kind of practice of inner leadership, that when a company says that if in order to have, this is the third one, in order to have better mental health, then we use as an example apps, which is something external, and this will help us instead of looking what are the processes or the things that we are doing on a daily basis that cause mental stress, let's say. And that's why you say, okay, start from here, and then when everything here is well, then we can look for other external help. Yes.
Yeah. Also, at the end, still the function of a company is to go towards a goal. Oftentimes, is how to make some product or some offering profitable. And that's the fundamental function. Like in this, the Denso We, they also categorize it into dysfunctional companies. And they might look very functional outside. They're making money and they're kind of successful, like that person who seems like you gave an example of, like doing very well. But actually on the inside, it's not so good. And how do we find that process, that company to actually be functional for both employees, customers, everybody in the ecosystem, not at the expense of somebody's health. And yet, I think almost paradoxically, and this is what I'm seeing now, perhaps my opinion will change, is that the focus, if we just focus, okay, we're all about mental health, let's just focus on mental health. You're kind of focusing on, if it's not good, if it's a situation where it's challenging, we're focusing on the negative rather than focusing on the goal where we want to be and building up the structure towards that goal. If you say, so it's like,
Integrate
if we're thinking of an individual, yeah. It's going back to this, am I moving away from pain or I'm going towards something? On a systemic point of view, I see it similar. Instead of saying, okay, have mental health here, how do we shouldn't have it, Sure. Where do we want to go? How do we want to be as a team? What is it that our vision? How do we want it to be at work? That's, I think, more, helpful.
Kate, I would like
rather than focusing on the problems alone.
I'd like to ask you also a question about change, but in a different way, which is AI. How much AI is changing everything at workplace? And how do you see emotional intelligence could integrate with these changes?
Yeah, this is such a big topic. I hear a lot of excitement, a lot of different emotions when it comes to this. Also, anxiety for some people. Am I still going to have my job? I think this is exactly why emotional intelligence, empathy, communication skills are so important now. Yeah. I still believe human needs a human,
Mm.
at least in some areas. Um, I can mostly talk about coaching because this is my specific industry, obviously. And of course, it's here. Like, yeah, it's here and we can't argue with it. We can just live with it. By the end, still the value of human interaction, the value of understanding, the empathy. Can I relate to this other person? Can I understand what they feel? Can I be empathic and have healthy empathy, right? Not just fall into it. Oh my gosh, I can't. If you tell me this, I'm suffering as you're suffering, and I also not functional anymore.
Mm.
Opposite is not being able to connect at all and just kind of sing as a protection. For example, is
Mm.
in this balance. I can empathize. What can I do for you?
Mm.
Understanding other people's feelings, understanding your own. I was just having a conversation with a colleague, with a coach actually, and she's, oh, these younger people prefer to talk to ChatGPT than coaches now, and it's easier and less scary for them. And well, if it's the case, then it's the case, right? It's also about how we educate the market. How do we, well, educate the market is a little bit big, right? But how do we communicate our message? What is the value that we provide? That has been the big challenge for helping professionals in L&D as well, in HR, right? How do we're not a revenue generating function in the business. How do we communicate what is it that we're doing and have it numerical? Also
Mm.
show the impact of our work because it's needed. It's very much needed. So I went off the tangent, but
Mm.
yeah, I think it's super important.
And I get what you said about being balanced. Not, I don't want to listen to negative emotions, for example, from others. I don't want to empathize because it will affect me in a negative way. No, be able to listen, but also not to be affected by it. If you are drained also when you listen to others and empathize with them, then it also you have to know how you can be in balance,
Yes.
kind of affecting, influencing others in a way that help them without being affected in a way that uh, harms you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's about emotional hygiene almost, right? We have all kinds of hygiene. What about emotional? What about our hygiene here? Yeah, absolutely. And how do we not dive into the hero mode that we touched on?
Mm.
How do we not totally? It also means being very much in our bodies. And I think because you asked about future, I see that it's always been important for humans to move our body, to be in our body, to understand what's going on. But the amount of information on average we experience every day is it's huge. It's nothing what it was in, like, I don't know, 18th century. That's not long ago. We haven't had time to evolve yet to this. And this is why being in touch with our body is so crucial, to let
Mm.
the flow of, you could say, energy, right? But also information not overwhelm us completely and still stay focused. That's also the power of focus. What
Mm.
is it that I want in my life? Where is it that I'm going? If we don't know, it's very easy to just fall into whatever is going on, right? You open
Mm.
your phone and half an hour later, why did I pick up my phone? Right? Those algorithms, they're professionals, they're geniuses in this world working on these algorithms. That's what they're designed to do. And when we don't know what we're going, somebody else has got our attention. And what
Mm.
is our biggest commodity? So that self-focus, attention, also communication with others. I see that being much, much, much more needed. Yeah.
Mm. Kate, is there anything that you think it's important to mention in this episode with you that I haven't asked you about yet?
Ooh. Well, I think what I just touched upon is very important. And this is something I try to cultivate in myself, to have that. And I'm not talking about the focus that is zero focus, laser, like tunnel vision focus. That's not what I mean. It's still directed focus towards the goals that we want in our life. Still open to new possibilities, to new ways of doing things. That is something I find very, very important. Now that I'm trying to walk the talk.
Actually, Kate, although we haven't mentioned this name before, and I don't know if you follow him, but while you're talking, you reminded me of Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, so many times.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I think I read one of his books a long time ago. What does he say that you find similar?
How you mentioned the unknown. That's not something that's necessarily scary, or how to be open to possibilities. Yeah. And also how important science is here. So you can connect with science, not only talk about spiritual things per se. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for noting that. I find that that's the challenge. Like, we're still, if we're speaking about spirituality and all this, we're still on this earth, right? It's easy to go off into it can also be a coping thing. It can also be, okay, what I'm trying to say, a lot of practices, everything is poison and everything is medicine, right? How we use it. At the end, we're still here on this earth, and I like to combine those two together. Creating businesses, creating projects, companies that very much aligned and helping ourselves, perhaps, or helping the community around us to grow, to flourish, to be well, and to solve a certain functional problems, even if we're speaking very practically. But again, it's the alignment, right? When we're too far off in one or another, and everybody has their own balance, everybody has their own answer, I believe. I'm not here to say that, but when we're so much into practices that we're not here, we're not doing things in life, that's a question. Or when we're so stuck in our ways of, okay, I only need safety material, how do I accumulate? That's also something that doesn't, in essence, make us happy either. And how do we find that balance? It's a journey, isn't it?
I like how you mentioned balance several times in different contexts, but yeah, it's important. Is there any one final message you like to share?
I think at the end, all the answers are inside. That I want to say, if we're talking about the global things, and because we talked quite a bit about transition, what do I want? How do I find what I want? How do we create environments and companies where people feel healthy and well? At the end, I think the answers are always inside, and this is almost the common truth. But it is really, we already have everything we need, and we just have to be brave to let it shine through us.
Thank you very much, Kate. I enjoyed this conversation with you. I hope everyone also is listening enjoyed, got inspired, and maybe took something with you, like at least one action that will implement after this conversation that we can do also consistently to know ourselves better, be more connected, and know how to deal with all the challenges and changes in the world. Thank you very much, Kate.
Thank you, Omar.
Do you feel inspired by this conversation? If that's the case, please share that with me, write me a comment, and share it with a friend that you know will benefit from this podcast. Core Impact Podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other major platforms.